Hello guys, and welcome to my channel where we talk about travel, food, films, and music. I'm Frank. It was 6 years ago, myself and Adam Cole had a rare chance to chat with a jazz legend himself, Jarreau, here in Oman, a year before he passed away in 2017. So guys, in this conversation, we'll delve into his life, music, and legacy, exploring the influences that shape his unique sound, experiences, the stories behind those greatest hits, and the impact he had on the world of jazz and beyond.
So we all must lend a helping hand. Oh, I need to get my good.
Again?
Yeah, Frank.
Frank? All right, Frank.
And Adam.
It was part of the dream that we could take this music many places, to many countries, to many. What did you say?
To the next level.
To the next level.
Well, to the next level too is what we are trying to take it to the next level. But you know, in the last 15 years, we've been in Dubai. We've been Morocco, Tunisia, and these are countries where not every American goes. And whenever we're asked to come, we go because it's part of this ambassadorship. Ambassadorship.
That's
we're just continuing in the tradition. Well, to whatever extent that I'm a jazzer, I'm also an ambassador, like those early guys who took American music everywhere in the world, and people went, "Whoa, that's pretty special," you know. And so we kind of joined that group of people and that whole notion. You know, there's a lot to be said for making bridges, you know.
Absolutely. One of you mentioned now about the previous jazzers and the writers, and I guess you're referring to people like Duke Ellington.
I am.
And those legendary jazzers,
legendary people.
Country. But you, Jarreau, you're the only artist, I don't know if you're aware of this, next to Michael Jackson.
I know what you're going to say.
The Grammy
and
Awards
we have
three categories.
And we have to fix what they typically say. They typically say, I'm the only singer. No, it's the only artist ever at all. Me and Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Wow.
That's rare company.
Wow.
Yeah, that's rare company. And so I'm really proud of that. I said since the beginning, you know, that I wanted to do music that's kind of across the board, R&B, pop, and jazz. And so it's kind of a very satisfying thing to get Grammys in those three areas. Yeah,
that's remarkable.
Now, obviously, throughout your career, in all those Grammy Hall of Fames, honorees, doctorates, and all those stuff, did you ever think when you started out that your career would be going away as it has right now?
Just dream. I couldn't put the pieces together even way back then. And as it began to unfold, I couldn't put the pieces together other than to say it's part of a dream as a kid who began to think there might be a career in music, that I might get the chance to travel the world and sing music, play music for people, and have them walk away with a smile on their face. Man, that's the big deal. You know, I love the Grammys and the awards and all, but the greatest reward is in standing there in front of people and they're doing this.
Absolutely.
Singing along. We're in this love together. Man, that is the stuff. Because when that happens, you've done something for somebody's heart.
Made a change.
You've made them feel better for a little while. That's cardiology. So, you know, here we are, you know, helping people to feel better. And I'm not alone. I mean, anyone who does this this music or entertainment, comics and actors and all of them who give people a moment when they can feel better and feel some relief. It's pretty good stuff.
Wow. As an artist, you've obviously been continually exploring, evolving, and growing. There is likewise this youthfulness and vibrancy about you, which the years haven't diminished at all. I wonder what's the secret behind all this? Yeah.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky, and I don't know what more there is to say, except that, when somehow along the line you're lucky enough to find an appreciation for living and being, and as one of God's children, and you have a sense of how wonderful today is, because even though my back hurts, I woke up this morning and I looked out the window and I saw people on the street going by, walking with a pep in their step, and opened my window and could feel the warm breeze coming in, smell the air. When you get that, and you recognize and believe there's something special about that, and it's just not an accident. I don't think it's an accident. Then you realize that behind all of this is mind. Before this is mind, is presence, and love, and I'm part of that. Hey, man. If you got that, then something happens to your music and something happens to your spirit, and I have my moments in a ask my wife and my son. My wife has a name for it, the roaring room, where she allows me to go for a couple minutes every day. I talk about this and that and the other. Oh, the towers are
When you look back at your early inspirations, or when you were starting to appreciate music, obviously you probably come from a family of music, I believe. Do you remember any real trigger points or any moments in as a young man where you thought, yeah, this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah. Well, I can't say the day or the hour exactly, but certainly has to do with after singing a nice little solo in church, the church ladies coming by and pinching my cheeks and kissing me and getting perfume and powder on my cheek, and I was like, well, I like this. So somewhere between there and having older brothers who did some semi-professional singing and getting a sense of what they enjoyed about it, and looking at that and going, oh, listening to all the people who touched me. I was just thinking about Nat Cole, just thinking about him today. I was thinking about Natalie, and thinking about who we lost in the last year, the people who've gone on in the last year, including David Bowie and Natalie and Prince just a moment ago. Thinking about all of that, and Nat Cole being a huge influence on me, and then someone after him who also loved him. I've never had a chance to talk to Johnny Mathis, but I know he loved Nat Cole. You can hear it in his voice. And those guys touched me, infected me, and my music and all. And so yeah, I was just going, thank you again. I'm here today, and here on the Arabian Peninsula.
Yeah. Well, welcome to Oman. What do you have? What's your first impressions of the country? You said you woke up this morning to nice blue skies.
Right, nice blue skies.
You saw some people walking with a nice chipper
nice
move in their step.
Yeah, nice little chipperness in their step, and looking at something different than when you go to major cities. You're very often looking at steel and glass,
sure,
and tall structures, and these are low-lying buildings.
His Majesty here made it a law that he would have nothing much over 5 stories.
Yeah, he should come everywhere. Yeah. He needs to go to Tokyo. He needs to go to Tokyo and tell them that too, and China.
And you've just arrived last night, Al. I believe you've not actually made it to the venue yet, to the Royal Opera House, Muscat. Yeah?
No, what an honor that's going to be.
Have you got any idea of what to expect?
Well, no. I mean, only from what I've seen, it's going to be glamorous and wonderful, beautiful, well constructed, and taking advantage of every new modern technology for sound reproduction, and sometimes for electronic music. You have to be very, very careful. So when we go in there tomorrow and sound check, we'll make sure that we don't overwhelm the room, because in opera houses and all, you can hear when the singer goes "da" all the way to the back. So we'll be careful as we approach the Royal Opera House. And I haven't done a lot of opera houses, but I've done the one in Vienna. And there's a couple in Germany where I've done in Berlin and Munich, but not many opera houses.
You'll be in very good hands. I trust. I can certainly.
You're familiar with it, huh?
Very much so.
So where are you from?
I'm from the UK, from the south, down just about an hour south of London. But I've lived in Oman for the past 12 years as a music teacher and as a radio presenter. So radio
wonderful.
is my gig.
And you are
Yeah, I've been in radio for...
You an expat too from Britain?
No, I'm not. I'm actually from the Philippines.
From Philippines?
Yeah.
Oh, Philippines.
You know Filipinos?
Huh?
You have friends?
No, friends. Yeah. People who know the Jarreau music in the Philippines.
Did you have a concert there before?
Many.
In the Philippines?
I've been there many years. Not recently, but I've been going there for 25 years. Okay. Going to the Philippines.
All right. Your new CD, My Old Friend, is a tribute to your close friend, the legendary late George Duke. Yeah, I've listened to some of the pieces. It's really incredible. Highly recommended. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Can you tell us why this latest album is special, truly special for you?
Well, George, as I've listened to people describe the work of Prince here in the last 48 hours or so, I'm of course reminded of George Duke, who was in lots of ways, a kind of colleague and of Prince, in that he performed so many different kinds of music. That Prince surely did that. It turned into be mostly rock and pop stuff, but George was one of the guys who introduced fusion music with Billy Cobham and John McLaughlin and I can't think of his name from France. Yeah.
Grappelli. Stefan Grappelli.
No, a violinist. Is Grappelli a violinist too?
Yeah, that was...
Oh, I'll think of his name, but those guys who brought rock and R&B and jazz together in the middle 70s and created this music called fusion. So Yeah, it was like that. Jazz elements and R&B and pop elements and rock and roll, and introduced an entirely different sound. So George was from that. But, you know, in that career, we heard George sounding like Philip Bailey. Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind, and Fire. Oh, you listen to those songs. You could hear George Duke on Soul Train, one of the great R&B programs in America, as much as you heard Philip Bailey. And George sounded like him. And, of course, he and Stanley had that big hit. Oh, it's you, sweet baby. Now, that ain't jazz. That ain't heavy R&B. It's kind of pop and R&B. So George, you know, I don't know whether to call him forerunner to Prince, but they sure were brothers in that thing of doing different kinds of music. I feel akin to that, certainly not as successful as either one of them, and maybe not as profoundly involved as in my R&B and in my jazz and in my pop music as either of them. But I embraced all three of those and thought that it's okay to do that. And that is the message that I think George sent to people without saying it verbally like I am now, but watching his career. And I forgot to mention about Funkadelics.
Oh, yeah.
Parliament Funkadelics. I mean, that's an amazing reach for people to become aware of when they think about George, listen to George. And so I just wanted to celebrate a little bit of that. And, you know, I will never do Parliament Funkadelics the way George did. So don't look for that on the My Old Friend record. But there's some other areas where George and I crossed paths and shared some things, and it's certainly some R&B things, and our love for Brazilian music. We shared together. Brian, would you get another glass for water? I'm talking so much, I'm getting dry down there, you know.
You're great. And I'm sure your voice is.
I'm going to wear this out. You'll need another one when I'm through.
I think we more or less got enough. Maybe we could just close without and ask maybe a little bit about
some jazzy stuff, some R&B stuff, some pop stuff, things from my early career and the middle part of my career, and then newer stuff too, and get you to singing. That's the main thing. Get you to singing loud. You too.
We really like that. We checked out a little bit of video from last year. I don't know where the show was, but you had everybody standing up, and you were doing, I think it was Belafonte.
Oh, there's a video of that.
Yes, it's got 500,000 hits.
Don't tell Harry yet.
He's got a concert in London last time, right?
I don't know where this was.
Live in London. He got a live album.
Oh, Al Jarreau live in London. That's a classic album.
Yeah, that's from a while back. Mm-hmm. But there's no Harry on that one. No Deo. But I was singing Deo in the shower then, to be sure. I've been singing Deo since I was 14 or 15 years old. Harry was a beautiful, wonderful influence on not only America, but the world. Music of the world that he brought. And in years before Marley and years before there was anything called world music, Harry opened up the door and said, "This is music that comes from the islands. I'm from the islands, and I hope you enjoy." Matilda, Matilda, she take the money and run Venezuela. Brilliant. Do you know that song? Matilda, she take the money and run Venezuela. and he talks about how he went to sleep with the money in the pillow beneath his head, but somehow Matilda got in there and took the money and went to Venezuela. Oh, so beautiful fun. So beautiful fun in the music.
Yeah.
And
it's important.
Yeah, oh my God, that's so important that people be given the chance to have fun. That the artist on the stage is having fun in the music. It should be that way. There's a piece of Summertime. The song "Summertime When the Living Is Easy." The Gershwins wrote an ending that no one ever does, and it goes like ba bo ba 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 ba. And so I think it was John Hendricks who wrote a lyric for that and said, "Life should be like summer time." And so yes, we've made life more difficult than it has to be.
Yeah,
we human beings, we haven't learned much over this length of time that we've been walking around here. Well, we've learned a lot of things, but we haven't learned how to live in peace, and that's one of the most wonderful, important things for us to learn, to live in peace and harmony, and to do one of the most important things that we can do, and that's to help each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So,
that's correct.
That was the agreement we made with each other when we came together in this thing called civilization and lived together and worked together. You bring your ability as a fisherman, and I know how to, and we'll live together and make life good together. So, I don't know. Don't pay any attention to me. I'm rambling on and on.
We think you're right, definitely. It's all gone a bit 10-100, as we say.
Yeah, right. It's gone a bit how?
Gone a bit 10-100.
10-100.
10-100, old chap. A little bit skew-wit.
That sounds like radio music talk. 10-100. I'm going to use that one.
10-1. I think it's CB talk. Citizens Band Radio.
Oh.
You've gone a bit 10-100, good buddy. What's your 20? Ooh, I've gone a bit 10-100 there, mate.
I love it. What's your 20? Ooh, gone a bit 10-100 over there, mate.
Gone a bit 10-100, old chap.
So in 2009, you worked with children's author Carmen Rubin to promote literacy and the importance of keeping music alive in children. How did the collaboration came about?
Well, I guess there's been a part of me that's been open to that for a long time, and very understanding about reaching out to young people and how important school and education is. So people know that I will say yes when they call me on the phone. I'm working for free all the time. It's okay though. It's okay because the reward really is in the doing it and seeing people respond to that. There's a great song that Saida Garrett wrote that is on one of my albums, and it talks about the joy that you get from being the giver. It's better than the joy of being the receiver. Is to watch others do better because you were able to give something. There's a joy in that is magnificent.
And you have dedicated yourself to promoting arts education in schools and to passing your experience to young musicians. How do you view the importance of art education and opportunities in this regard to help aspiring musicians just like me and Adam? Please.
Well, it's more than aspiring musicians. Arts are the workshop in human sensitivities. A painting, a sculpture is some feeling that the artist put into hard form. The dance is some feeling, joy, happiness, pain, sorrow. Talk to me about Faust. Let's talk about Romeo and Juliet. All of that stuff. When the kid gets a chance to see that and experience those things, he's just spent a little while in the workshop of human feelings, where he gets to understand what somebody else is feeling: sadness, joy, happiness. And I tell you, we better have more of that. That's what will bring us together and not separate us in this world where it's so easy to get separate from each other. It's the workshop of human sensitivities. And I'll tell you what, show me a kid with a violin, I'll show you a kid who's not carrying an AK, a gun in his hand. Promise you. Someone who's got drumsticks in their arm, or learning to dance or learning to paint or something of that sort, is a kid who's probably not doing drugs and not selling drugs, but the other important thing is he's experiencing the feelings, the pain, the joys, and the sorrows of somebody else who wrote it into their song, or wrote it into their play production, or wrote it into the music. And if he can get a little bit of that, he's a different kid. He's different. And we need him downtown in city government.
Yeah, right.
We need him in Washington. We need him in Moscow. We need that kid who studied some dance or studied some choral music. I'm overstating it, but that is the truth. Ain't no way around it. I know I'm right. You don't have to agree with me. I know I'm right. I've seen kids who come from a cappella choir where they've sung, everything from West Side Story to the Messiah. These are changed young people. Changed.
Very much so. Well, I'm sure we certainly are, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Al Jarreau, we're a little bit in awe because we were talking earlier, and every sentence, or every time Frank and I have been around our studios in the radio station, Al Jarreau. and it's almost become a little bit of a joke. People have come up to us and saying, "Oh, Al Jarreau."
I love that.
We're so in awe.
No, I love
and we're
that.
so looking forward to your concert. We both grew up, on a staple of, for me, Stevie Wonder, Al Jarreau, George Benson, George Duke, Stanley Clarke. You mentioned many of these guys, the Jacksons. And I never in a million years thought, when I started out playing bass in a band in the 80s, early 80s, that I was going to be sitting with, getting my boogie down and wearing Mr. Shoeshine there, shining white and tan.
Wow, man.
Wow,
oh, man.
It's remarkable. It's just really remarkable.
Well, for me, it's remarkable. Thinking of myself as a little kid from Milwaukee, and there aren't many of us who've come out of Milwaukee and had, careers that been kind of successful, and I'm one of them. Yeah. And so it's a good thing for kids in Milwaukee to understand that there's a guy who grew up right over there. He grew up right over there where my grandmother lives. Al Jarreau grew up there, and it happened for him, and so it's still quite amazing to me that it did. And it's about working hard and thinking that it's okay if you don't have a gazillion people. I'll never have the same audience like Stevie had, or Prince. I'll never have that many people loving Jarreau music, but it's a big enough audience to satisfy me in my heart that I've touched some other hearts out there, and that I'm living a life that is a dream come true.
Yes.
Dream come true.
That's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
I think they're good.
Yeah, I'm sure fans here in Muscat are looking forward to your concert at the Royal Opera House. Again, it's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
And a great honor to have this chance to be with
Well, you sing on. You keep singing.
Legendary vocalist. And the one and only Al Jarreau.
Legendary. Okay. We're doing an interview with a radio guy from London.
Okay.
And he kept referring to me, I think within the first 3 minutes, as the legendary Al Jarreau. I can't remember who it was, but definitely the BBC. The legendary.
It's funny.
Well, thank you.
When I was just talking about Mornin, Mr.
Yeah, Mornin, Mr. Radio.
And it's probably, I started playing that on radio in Abu Dhabi in 1989, and it was my opening song every morning, 6 o'clock. And I'm sure around the world must have been many jocks that.
I hope so. Not many. They haven't come to me and told me.
In the morning.
I kept expecting them to come and tell me.
Have you not been told that?
There's a handful. There aren't more than 5.
Is that so?
There are not more than 5 that I know of who chose to use that as their morning theme song.
Wow.
Yeah, and I am amazed because it's perfect.
Not just that. When we've had other artists, especially Abu Dhabi, Dubai, when I worked there and here, but being in town, bands like Kool and the Gang played here. Randy Crawford's been here.
Yeah.
In Abu Dhabi, of course, the others as well. Rock bands, the Rolling Stones. And if we get the chance to do any interviews with any of those guys, we'll say, "Oh, don't forget to listen in the morning," and you'll know it's me because I play Al Jarreau's "Morning, Mr. Shush," "Morning, Mr. Radio." Isn't that something?
And you'll know it's me.
And you'll know it's me. It's legendary.
Legendary. Wow.
Isn't that something?
Amazing. Yeah, so I thank you for putting me on in the morning and letting people hear, and Jay Graydon, who wrote that song. Jay Graydon and David Foster, guitar player, who produced several records. David, Jay Graydon, brilliant musician, and he and David Foster wrote that song. And one day they were saying, "Hey, did you ever hear Al? Did you ever hear such and such?" And I went, "No, I don't know it." They played that song for me. My eyes rolled up in my forehead.
Wow.
Yeah, and it told me, it spoke to me about what to write. It's
signature,
the words and your passion and your delivery of it is just where it just all comes together as one. It's just nobody else.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
Nobody else could ever do it. I've heard many people try to do that.
Your sound is different. You have, when I listen to your music, it seems like I'm floating on the air or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
the sound is different.
But you've got those rhythmic elements and the range, and you always have had. You know, the one which really I remember it punched me in the face was the scat solo you do on Boogie Down. It's just unbelievable. We had a singer in a band called Andy Hazlitt. He was this ginger-haired guy with freckles, totally un-rock and roll. But he had a voice.
He could do it.
But he used to go bright red when it was. But that was so yeah, that was the one. That was and it was High Crime, Raging Waters. That album.
Yeah.
That was Boogie Down was on that. Was that?
Well, I'm not sure if Boogie Down was High Crime.
Well, the Breaking Away or something. The album. Or this time.
Was Boogie Down the Jarreau record?
It was Al Jarreau, wasn't it?
It might have been the Jarreau record, about 3 records in, you know. And it might have been the very first. It was Breaking Away on the same record.
Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah, wonderful period. Wonderful period for me.
Scatting.
Wow.
And you know what's really significant about that period, you guys, is that I had just come from having jazzy producers, Tommy LaPuma and Al Schmidt. Okay. They did a lot of jazz producing before me, and so my record company, asked them to work with me, and so the first album is We Got By is produced by Al Schmidt, brilliant engineer. I'm one of the first artists that he ever produced.
Oh, wow.
And then the second record was Tommy LaPuma, but the crossover stuff happened after them.
Yeah,
it was the jazz stuff, but then the crossover stuff, which put me in front of a whole new audience of people, who came along and learned about Dave Brubeck.
Yeah.
They listened to me and learned about Chick Corea.
And the Dan, of course.
Yeah.
Steve Lee, we came
right. And so, and it was that period with Jay Graydon and David Foster, who was there sometimes with me. After All is a song that I did with him.
Yeah, After All.
Very popular in the Philippines.
Oh, lovely song.
In the Philippines.
And was that Dare I Go?
No, that's a King Pleasure and a George Benson song.
That's right.
From the 40s. That song.
There was another song.
Moody's Mood for Love.
It's I Will Be Here For You.
Nitaku Kachea Milele Milele. That's Swahili.
Wow.
And written by the guys from Mr.
Kiri.
Right. And they also wrote My Old Friend. Woo! So isn't that marvelous? Isn't that marvelous how the music, crosses generations and crosses color lines and
Mr.
Kiri liaison to the darkness I travel.
Great song. Yeah.
My soul.
Yeah.
Great singer. Yeah.
Oh,
Richard Page and Richard Page and
Broken Wings.
Steve George.
Broken Wings, Steve George. So
Yeah.
take these broken wings. Oh yeah. And learn to fly again. Wow.
Beautiful.
Great writers. Too short a career, too short. I should ask them to come and join me on tour now.
Well, we can't wait till tomorrow. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's really special.
And say, hello to your audience and thank them for years of listening. people from home say, ain't nothing like that. Nothing in the world like it. I got some Grammys from from this country and that country and all kinds of awards. I'm from Milwaukee, and when people from Milwaukee say, thank you, Al, we're proud of you, you did us proud.